Welcome to the Confidence Code podcast episode number 3. Really, really exciting to be here today with all of you, and thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a while since I did another recording. I think life just got really, really busy since our last episode. So really excited to be back and bringing amazing new content and another amazing guest to you. So this brings me to introducing today's guest, who is Errol Lawson. Thank you so much, Errol, for accepting the invite and being our guest today. Errol Lawson, author, entrepreneur, and keynote speaker. And we are going to talk about courageous leadership today, which is a really, really exciting and fascinating topic, I find, not just in the corporate world, but also just in general in everyday life. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Errol, and also I'm going to read out our very first question, which is really about telling your story, telling your background. Why did you end up doing what you do right now? Why are you so passionate about it? And yeah, I'll let you unfold the topic and your story.
Awesome. Well, firstly, Meshi, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. It's my pleasure to be here with you. It's only a few weeks ago we met at the latter event. We were both delivering our workshops there for the delegates. It's wonderful to see you in your element as well. My name's Errol Lawson. I'm an author, entrepreneur, and a keynote speaker. And I am from Birmingham, a lovely place in the heart of the country called Birmingham, where I was born and raised. And my story really is one of kind of growing up in a quite a dysfunctional family environment. I lived with my parents and my younger siblings for most of my early years. And my parents divorced when I was about 11 years old, and it hit me particularly badly. The emotional fallout from it. I mean, I'd done well. I got into a grammar school. I was doing very well academically. And then my dad leaving had a really negative impact on my life. And he actually went to prison when I was 13 years old. He was in prison throughout my teenage years as well. And as a young man growing up without a father figure, a role model, someone to show them right from wrong, and my particular personality is someone who's very curious. I was always a leader. I was always going to be the one that was going to, be out there trying things and, breaking the rules, so to speak. And so not having a dad around particularly had a negative impact on me. And my role models then became the guys who were on the street, who were in gangs, selling drugs, living that lifestyle. And I ended up following after their pattern. Until around age 16 or so, I had a bit of a run-in with the police. Police came knocking on the door for me, and I was taken away. And for my mom at the time, that was the last straw. She said to me, "Son, you're going to have to move out now." And I was kicked out. I was homeless at 16 years old. And then through a kind of sort of a strange turn of events, around 19 years old, I was sent by the court system to do some probationary service. I was given some community service hours. And the place that I was sent to was owned by an old Irishman called John, who eventually became the father figure that I never had. John, this old Irishman, saw past my mindset, my attitude, my lifestyle, and he just believed in me. And Messi, there's something about the power of one person believing in you when no one else does, John's mantra was, "Errol, I believe in you." And he'd say to me, "Errol, you can do it. You can be someone. You can go somewhere." And I say, "John, why do you believe in me?" "Because no one else does." And with John's help, I started my first company at 19 years old, and my life began to turn around massively. And so I guess ever since then, I've wanted to become John for everybody else in the world. So to become John for millions of other people, that person, that agent of transformation, of change that can help other people to bring out the best in themselves and realize their full potential. And so that's the kind of the nutshell of my story. Now I've written books telling my story. I go around the world telling my story. I I get to speak to some amazing people like yourself and just get to meet people who have the same heart and passion and like mind to make a difference in the world. So really glad to be here. Thank you.
This is so amazing, and thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this. So yes, I actually missed from the intro mentioning how we met at the Lata Expo. It was just in June, a couple of months ago, and I heard you speaking right on stage for the first time, and I remember that complete silence, in that big conference room, and everybody was really, listening in silence and very touched, I think, from your own story. And yeah, the power of, having people around us who trust us and gives us, faith and tell us, right, that they believe in us. I think for me, this figure is my dad, who, it didn't matter which ideas I came up with, about myself, what I wanted to become or which career I wanted to pursue. He was just always there, whether it was music, piano, singing, it didn't really matter, when the whole world looks at you and says, oh my God, that's an idiotic thing. And really, like, this is what you want to do as a profession. He was just always there and nothing mattered, he was just giving the trust and the faith. And I think that's so incredible. And whoever this person is who inspires you, it just, gives some kind of strength to fight for those dreams. So yeah, very inspiring and very, very touching, I would say.
Yeah, maybe someone's listening and they're thinking to themselves, either they're thinking of their John in their life, or maybe they're saying, like, I don't have that person right now. Never had that kind of person. I know how that feels too. But I'd say, think of like when we were all at school, we all had like a school teacher who we didn't get along with, or they didn't like us. For some reason, we weren't their person.
Yeah.
They weren't our person. And we struggled to get the most out of that class because of that teacher's approach to leading the lesson, to teaching the lesson, to passing over the information. But equally, we can all think of teachers whose class we went into and we had an amazing time. They were so brilliant. They were so inspiring, so engaging in their delivery style. They somehow made something really boring sound interesting, and they got us to perform at our highest level. That's that kind of person that's who John was for me. It's that kind of person that didn't see limitation, didn't see any of the labels, and was able to see within the person. And it was all about the person, not about them, but all about the person and them shining and them being the best they can be. So, yeah, we need those people. I call them multipliers, I do. They're my multiplier friends, my multiplier people.
Yeah, I think that's a very special certain type of people, right? That's a nice expression for them. Let's jump into our second question, which is about, maybe some bits of it you already answered. It's basically around your purpose and mission. What really drives you, and what do you consider to be, your ultimate mission with everything you do, right? Like being an entrepreneur, like writing your books. And I know that you have books for teenagers, right? About how to have the entrepreneur mindset and how to kind of like pursue their ideas and dreams. I think it's brilliant. I didn't really, read them, but I think just the idea itself, encouraging kids or people at the young age, just do something creative instead of, playing around with thoughts and ideas, but actually do something and enjoying, unfolding their creativity and their freedom. I think it's brilliant. So, but you tell me, what do you consider as your ultimate purpose, mission?
I mean, ultimately for me, I'm a follower of Christ, right? So I believe in Christ, and I I desire every single day to shine my light wherever I am, whoever I'm with, whatever I'm doing. I want to be light in that room. I want to be light in that environment. And light looks like bringing hope, bringing love, bringing joy, bringing empowerment, bringing encouragement wherever I go in honor of Christ, who I love. And so that shows up for me in different ways, right? So when I think of my work with young people, I want to make a difference in the lives of young people in a time that is so challenged. Like we see the news reports and things like that today, where we're in the middle of August here in the UK, and there's talks of riots and all these kinds of things. And, there's such a need for us to give hope to our young people, for them to know who they are, what they can accomplish, to give life a sense of meaning to them. So that's, for me, that's really important. Equally, on a bigger scale, I want to make a difference in the world. Like I want to see communities lifted up. I want to see cities lifted up, nations lifted up by the little contribution that I can make. And so I get the privilege of speaking to some of the leaders in our nation and having a chance to deliver training and workshops and coaching for some of the most influential leaders in our nation. And for me, that's me shining my light on a bigger scale and being able to make a difference on a bigger scale in the affairs that kind of impact our society. And so for me, it's all about making a positive change that when Errol Lawson's gone, there'll be lots of ripple effects from the life he's led and the people he's impacted, the legacies left behind. So that's it for me, really. It's to make a difference. It's to lead by example. And I guess if I was to bring it home some more, it's my own family, it's my own children. I have two wonderful daughters who are 7 and 5 years old. I want to see them. We homeschool them, and we want to see them really excel and be the best that they can be. And they make us proud already. They do. They really do. And so it's to be a good example to them and to my wife as well.
I love it. I love everything you said. It's really truly inspiring, and well done on training those high level people. I think not just this country, but I think most places would need that. To kind of like shift the mindset a little bit and change the way how people think, and just fill it with more positivity and being more courageous, as you said. Okay, so being courageous, that brings us to the actual topic, which you and I picked to be the theme of the whole podcast, right? It could be courageous leadership, which you said it really nicely describes you in a way. So I thought we could unpack that a little bit. What courageous leadership means to you, what it means to you, and how would you describe it?
Sure. Okay, so let's break it down. Courageous leadership, right? So firstly, what is leadership? And so one of my mentors, John Maxwell, defines leadership as influence, nothing more, nothing less. And what influence means is, let's say, for example, we were going to a restaurant together and it was in your area, your town, and you were taking us both to this wonderful place, and we sat down in that environment. You would immediately be the leader because you have foreknowledge, you know the menu, you know the food, you know the place, you have the most influence in that environment. And so in the simplest of senses, we are all leaders. So we are all influencing someone or something somewhere, whether that's a parent at home influencing their children, whether that's somebody in the office who influences their team, their colleagues. Every one of us has the ability to influence. And so being a good leader is about how do we become better at influencing people or situations or
Oh, I really
circumstances.
like that. I really
Yeah,
like that. That's so true. That's so
yeah,
true for like family life, as you said, like also, because I think if you say leadership, like most people think of like suit and tie, office environment and stuff. And it's
Right.
not. It's everyday life, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
we have to demystify that because people will say, "Oh, I'm not a leader." Well, I don't have a title. Or I don't have an office. I don't have, a specific role. I'm not called leader. And so, but actually, every one of us has the leadership ability and responsibility. And so the question is, when you think about the attributes of a leader, you think about communication. So if you're going to be a better leader, how you communicate, your ability to listen and to speak clearly and compellingly and articulately, your ability to, your mindset, your attitude, your ability to manage resources, people, budgets, those kinds of things, to be able to inspire people to action, to get things done. And we can all learn how to do this better. People talk about nurture and nature. Some people are born leaders, some people are made leaders. Every one of us, I believe, has the potential to develop their leadership skills and qualities. And so, that being said, as a definition of leadership, when we think of a courageous leader, the word courage brings up all kinds of connotations. You think of a lion, rah, the bold and courageous lion, right? Or you think of
Yeah.
the soldier on the front line or the one who jumps out of an airplane, parachutes down into the middle of the war zone, and how courageous that is. The one who swims with sharks, or does these really courageous feats, and we think to ourselves, wow, that's really courageous. But that's not me. Some people do, right? And
Yeah.
so it, people will actually, it's easy for someone to look at courageous feats and not appreciate how courageous they really are. You see, if all of us have been through hard things in our lives, and if we had time today, I'd ask you to think about some of maybe the hardest, most challenging experience you've been through in your life up to now and how you came through it. And everyone listening today can think of a story or a time in their life they went through a difficult situation that they're no longer living in, and how they've come through it and what they did to come through and who it's made them to be. But whatever that thing is you've come through is an indication of your resilience, of your courage. Whether that was a relationship you were in and you thought you'd never get out of it, you were so stuck in it, it was killing you. Your back was against the wall, and yet somehow you found the strength, the courage, the resilience to break away, to walk away. That was courage right there. And maybe you were in a job and you were in a position where this job was no good for you. It was bringing you down. It was hostile, negative, abusive, whatever have you. And you couldn't get out. You felt like you were trapped and stuck, and they violated your core values. And you said, enough. I'm not doing this. You found the courage and you walked away. Or maybe you relocated from one country to another country and left your family behind, all of your comforts behind. That was courage. It was courage. And so you do have courage, is my point. And we bring those two together to talk about this thing called courageous leadership. Courageous leadership is when an individual comes to a point where they see a challenge in front of them, and rather than back down from it, rather than walk away, rather than press the eject button and parachute out of the situation, they step into it. They step into it. So that situation could look like a conversation that needs to be had. Maybe you're in your business, you're in your office, you're in your team, you're in your home with your family, with your child who's running just wild. And you realize that no, this is not who we are. This is not our value system, our culture here. It's not how we do it. I'm not going to let this thing go. I'm going to step into this. I'm going to confront the elephant in the room. It takes courage, Meshi. It takes courage to do that, right? It could
Yeah.
be.
I
Yeah, go
love how
ahead.
you described. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It just brought memories to me, when you were like, it's all of us. We all have we all have the leader within. Because I really had to fight this concept, because it's us, we create that in our minds. Yeah, I tell myself I'm not a leader, or no one tells us, no one says, no one defines us. It's us, it's me, it's my mindset, it's my mind. Yeah. And I created this narrative. You're not a leader. You were always in like positions or roles, at work, in the corporate world, just following others. And so I had to realize at some point in my job that no, I am actually a leader as well. And I was far from your concept, realizing what you just said, like, in anything you do, you influence situations, people, around you. And when I was made actually redundant, when I left my previous job just last year, they made me redundant, and it took me 7 months debating, whether I'm enough to be a CEO or run my own business. And even though I was wishing and wanting, to be able to do that. And some part of me really said, hey, go for it. You are there. The voice in my head was so strong about the negative beliefs and all these, mindset narratives I created for myself, that it just pushed it away. For 7 months, honestly, trust me, like the longest 7 months in my life, I cried so much. I felt like I'm fighting. It felt like I'm in a war zone with my own self, as much as I wanted to do it and to be able to believe that I can do it. It was the same energy, the same, negative thoughts, and two big powers, in my own head. Everything just happened here. And I was just keep talking. Yeah. I'm doing this, and I'm going to set up the business, and I'm going to do this step and that step. And I was working with my coach, and my dad was supporting, and people around like, yes, do it. And then after, half year, I just had to realize it's just talking. Like nothing happens. So for me to push myself, with all the help of these nice people around me who were, like role models for me, I finally managed to do small steps. And it's so interesting, courage, right? Even in that moment when I was like, okay, let's just make steps and see where it goes. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to be able to run this business. Maybe I won't be able to run this business. Even at that moment, I had no belief. No self-belief. If you ask me, like back that time, I was like, no, this may not work. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But I just started to do things, and then slowly I realized, the effects. And then, yes, like people follow, like, when you do the steps. So it's so interesting, courage and the whole leadership thing. I think it's, as you said, everyone, if you really look inside yourself and your past and your history, you will find situations where you were a leader and when, you really overcame tough things in your life. And that's leadership. You don't need to be, as you said, you don't need to, be on the war zone or jump out of the plane or be that person who kills that lion. Look, you don't need to.
And that's really my mission of this conversation today. It's really to help the person just the ordinary person who doesn't necessarily have, a big sort of title about their life and a big, following maybe, and just for everyone to realize that you have it within you, and how you've been feeling that imposter syndrome that you've been experiencing is felt by everybody. But as you walk towards that mountain, as it looks like in front of you, and as you put on your courage, and as you get the right people around you encouraging you, like Meshi described, as you have that supportive environment and those resources, and you begin to move towards that mountain, you realize the mountain is only a hill. You go, is that all it was? And you get there and you see other mountains from the top of that mountain, you see other mountains, and you begin to conquer them all one by one, realizing that they look like mountains in front of you, but they're only hills. They're only hills. And you can take them. You can do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation. I feel like we could go on for longer, for longer than the set time we have. Yes, very, very inspiring. I love what you're saying. So the title of my podcast is The Confidence Code, because I find this topic confidence fascinating. I think in a way it has a true relation with courage. So courage and confidence, I think they go hand in hand. And it really inspired me from my own life story. That's why I gave, the title confidence. And so as we are talking about leadership, I thought I'm going to ask you what this means to you, leadership and confidence. And specifically, if we relate to the corporate world, how do these two things relate? Confidence and leadership? Specifically in the business world, or what's your view on it?
I think it's a good question, and two words that naturally go together. I think there's an assumption that's made really about leaders that they're always confident people, and it's not always the case, right? So and let me say, I've given you a definition of leadership already, which is that we're all leaders. And the assumption is that because we are leaders, we must be confident in our ability to lead. But leadership is fraught with challenges. Leadership is fraught with opposition, persecution, resistance, rebellion, rejection, delay, denial, frustration. Like, all these things are packaged into the responsibility of being a leader. And so we don't always feel confident. A lot of the time, maybe most of the time, we feel uncertain, insecure, afraid, just trying to wing it, right? Because we don't have everything mapped out, yet we have to give people confidence. So in spite of how we feel, in spite of our own uncertainty and insecurity, we still have to be able to give people confidence. And that's where I think the key thing is here. Because as leaders, we are the casters of vision, and vision leaks, right? And so we have to be regularly and envisioning ourselves and giving clear and compelling vision to those that we say we are leading, whether that's our family, our children, our team, our organization. And so we have to put courage and confidence into them so they can believe in what we are selling, believe in where we are leading them. And the way we do that is by demonstration, right? And by example. And so it's a bit of a paradox in a way, because we have to inspire others and give confidence to people as leaders. So they have to know where they're going. They have to have the skills and the competencies needed to get there, and the confidence to go and fulfill their tasks. And they get that primarily from us as leaders, right? And so, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, when you just started to unfold this whole topic, something just came to me that, as you said, like, we need to show them, the direction and the vision and the mission. I think many times this whole thing is hard because us as leaders or people in leadership positions make this whole thing hard. Like, let's say I'm a leader, I don't know, in an organization, and maybe they promoted me, and I think, oh my God, I'm not a leader. Like, oh, what will I do? And we make it hard, and we think it's difficult. And the real story is that everyone else who looks at us and follows us just want to know one thing, that we trust them. You know what I mean? That we empower them. Yeah. And that's already inspiring. They just want to be inspired. We think that we need to be this, like Julius Caesar, like big time, hero, and like a king or queen or whatever. They just need to be trusted. They just want to feel that, they are empowered, and you believe, as you said, we all have these role models. They just need a role model to know that we believe in them, their abilities, that they can perform, that they're good, and they are good and they can perform. We just create this mystified thing around it that, oh my God, I'm a leader and then I need to be this and that and perfect and blah, blah. No one is perfect. They don't need that. They want real people who just inspire. And then it naturally will make them follow. You know what I mean? It's not,
Come on.
I don't think it's hard work, but we think it's, oh my God, what will they think? They think nothing. They just want to feel that we believe in them. I think that's, I don't know. It just came to me now that I was listening to you. It's nice. It's a nice thing, I think.
Yeah, well, my mentor said to me, there's three things that everyone's asking you, who you say you are leading. They're asking, can I trust them? Right? Can they help me? And do they love me? Do they love me? Right? Do they value me? And subconsciously, like you said, they're asking those questions of us. And as you were speaking earlier, the thing that came to me was the word humility. And humility, which is synonymous with is vulnerability as well. That my true confidence is not in myself, it's not in my ability, it's in Christ, right? And so I recognize that I in myself am insufficient. Doesn't matter how good people think I am, how famous they think I am, how popular they think I am. I know in and of myself, I'm just a bag of bones. But I have confidence in Christ who lives in me. And so my confidence and my assurance comes from that standpoint, right? So I don't depend on myself. If I do, I'll always mess up, right? I've proven that. However, I have a real deep confidence and assurance that Christ in me is the hope of glory. And I live from that place. And so it's from that place that I'm able to relate to people from all walks of life, whatever their background, whatever their situation, whatever their position of influence and power, whether they're a cleaner, to the CEO, to the person begging on the street. I can talk to anybody and love anybody because I don't have my confidence is not in from myself, and that is a learned humility. It's not necessarily natural; it's learned humility, and I think for all of us, really, if we can be willing to be humble, be vulnerable, and not think too highly of ourselves, I think a greater confidence, we can laugh at ourselves, greater confidence will come.
That's very nicely summarized. I think I liked the way how you explained. And I think with religion, it's an interesting thing. My grandma used to be very religious. It's just a background story about my family life. But
Sure.
my own parents were never really to church or religion. And because I was a child, right? My grandma was pushing, okay, we go to church, we do this, we do that. And I was like, yeah. When you're a child, you don't necessarily understand or really, on board with the whole thing. And it's so interesting just now that I'm in this business for 10 months. It's soon my first anniversary date since I started this business. This whole journey shifted my thinking and my beliefs and everything so much that I think at this time and age, I just started to understand what this is, what religion is. Not necessarily any certain types of, it doesn't matter what religion is. And I think some people may call it differently. Some people may find this thing within themselves, or they call it this or that or soul or Jesus, or I'm saying it doesn't really matter. But this thing should give you this, as you said, that power and strong self-belief that you are enough and you have, that faith within you. It's beautiful. And I just realized I started to respect this whole institution so much. And my grandma is not with us for many, many years, but I think, when you have these light bulb moments, sometimes, you have sometimes smaller ones, bigger ones, and I'm like, I think now I get it. I think now I get it, what it meant for
she
her
made
and
her mark. Yeah.
for her family and all those memories. So yeah, very 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 interesting interesting realization. But yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing that.
nicely phrased. Ah, thank you. Yeah, it just came to me the other day, like a few days ago, and I was just doing things at home, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, like, yeah. I think it came to me when when I was listening to that Mel Robbins podcast. You remember about Sarah,
Yeah,
what's her name?
Sarah
Sarah
Jakes.
Jakes.
Sarah Jakes, yeah. Sarah Jakes
Yes,
Roberts.
I was listening. Yeah, Sarah Jakes Roberts, and I was listening to her, and I'm like, oh, when she was talking about things like this, and I was like, oh, that made me think. Okay, so what would be your advice to someone who is listening to this podcast right now and got maybe very, very inspired from our discussion and from everything you were saying or we were saying, and maybe feel a little bit lost, or maybe they don't even feel lost, but they just got inspired simply. What would be your suggestion or advice for the person listening on how to start working on themselves, or what are the steps you would suggest as a very first step without feeling any pressure or any in any way that it's a hard, tough thing? Because for me, like based on my example, that's what happened to me. Once I realized that, oh my God, I have so much to learn and unfold and, change and everything, it just feels overwhelming. So how can you make it light for yourself and say, okay, that's how I can start. These are the things, these are the steps, maybe as an easy start for someone who never really, did this before.
Wow. That is a huge, huge question, Meshi. I
I know.
see.
Okay, you have
I
like 2 minutes to
don't,
answer. No, I'm joking. Like, yeah,
no
yeah.
pressure.
What would be your approach? Yes,
You see,
I know it's not an easy one. I know
the reason why it's a hard
yeah.
question is because everybody's different, right? And everybody is at different. Everyone's different psychologically, everything, right? And everyone's at a different stage in their journey. And so I can only kind of give you what worked for me and what works for me and how I turned my life around. And the thing that I think is key is to recognize that we are on a journey, and this world we live in doesn't belong to us, that we are here as a part of somebody else's plan. For me, it's God, okay? There's somebody who owns the earth. So I don't own this earth. I'm here for a reason, for a short amount of time. And what I do in that short amount of time, the difference that I make is what really matters. And so with the hours in the day, the time I have, the air in my lungs, the skills, the talents, the personalities, the giftings I've been given, I need to ask, do I want to live a life that counts for something, that leaves a legacy, makes a mark? Do I want to be somebody, or do I just want to exist? Now, somebody who just exists is literally hasn't awoken to the reality of their who-ness, of who they are. And so their life has become mundane. They're in pursuit of mundane things, mundane materialism, mundane activities. Wake up in the morning, watch TV all day, or go to work, come home, watch TV all night, go to bed, on that treadmill, that cycle of life. That light bulb inside them hasn't been turned on yet. There's no activation to the reality of their who-ness. And if you're in that position right now, you haven't figured that out, well, there are different ways. And I think, for some people, it's going to mean that they have a near-death situation where they have a serious crisis in life and their back is against the wall and it's a serious illness, someone passes away, someone dies, and that causes them to really look in the mirror and go, whoa, life is real and I'm not in control of it. What am I doing with mine? For some people, it will be a relationship that they have, and they come into a relationship with a person, a man, a woman, and they really love the person really loves them, but what is required of them or who they need to be in that relationship is not who they are now. And so they change themselves, they work on themselves, they find the motivation and the impetus to say, you know what? I'm gonna sort my life out. I'm gonna stop this. Are you with me? Responsibility comes to them. And ultimately, you and I, and whoever's listening, will need to decide to take 100% personal responsibility for our lives and decide to ourselves that if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Not 99%, not 98%, but 100% personal responsibility. To realize that there's no more excuses, there's no more blame game. You can make excuses or you can have success. You can blame your mom, your dad, your trauma, your background, your story, where you're from, your skin color, your religion, your height, your whatever, your qualifications or not. You can blame everything or you can have success. Well, you decide if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And that moment has to
I
come
was
to
about
all
to
of
repeat
us.
that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I was about to repeat that. That's so good. That's so good. I'm gonna
Yeah.
write this down. If it's
Mm-hmm.
meant to be, it's up to me. I love it. This tells the whole thing. Oh wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. I know it's a huge topic and it could
Yeah.
be just, like a proper podcast like topic for
Yeah.
like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So well done on answering that in the limited
I tried.
amount of time. Yeah. Well done. Okay, so this brings me to my very last question, and this might be a shorter one. This is basically about your favorite quote, which you came across before in your career, and please tell us the quote, and a very short explanation about like why
Okay.
it is your favorite.
Well, it's actually a bit of a poem, if that's okay. It's a
Mm-hmm.
poem that means a lot to me. I got this from John, the man that I mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
this poem was at a point in my life where I went from being, you know, a drug dealer to a hope dealer, and it simply says, "Children learn what they live. If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with shame, he learns to be guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns to confidence. If a child lives with praise, he learns to appreciate. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. If a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. If a child lives with acceptance and friendship, he learns to find love in the world." And for me, this has been something that I've held close to my heart.
Oh, this is beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I can tell
Thank you.
it's you engraved it. It's in you. So I think that's very powerful and also very very inspiring. I don't need we need any explanation on that. I think it's very very clear and very touching. So I think this brings us to the end of this episode, being so inspired and so lightened up. Like I definitely feel this way. I hope everyone else will feel after listening to this episode. So thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode. I'm very excited to be back in the ring again and be back on the ball with bringing you an episode once a month. And thank you so much, Errol, for being here with us and sharing all these beautiful stories and experiences.
It's my pleasure, Messi. It's my pleasure. And I've got a special gift for your listeners. So my leadership book, which is called The 5 Core Abilities of Highly Effective Leaders, where I talk about courage and many other things relating to leadership. I'd like to give away a copy of the ebook for free to anyone that's listening today. So if you would like to send me an email to Errol@errollawson.com, and I will send you a free copy of the ebook of the 5 core abilities of highly effective leaders straight away to your email. So send me an email and I'll get that over to you.
I'll sign up. Brilliant. Yeah, I'll mention your emails so people can reach out to you and me as well to make sure that they get this. Amazing. But thank you so much again, and have an amazing day, week, and month, everyone. And we are going to be back in a month's time with the next episode. And thank you so much again. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.